I'm back, still riding some windy ass roads. I would talk a little about my philosophy. Decreasing radius turn, yeah. So first, I want to tell you how I got to where I was, because you know I used to be really very conservative, and now I would consider myself, well, you know, let's not get into politics, but I would consider myself pretty liberal. Basically, if you want to get down to it, all things in moderation is such a good way to live, I think. Oh my god. Yeah, when I was growing up, I was in a really strict, conservative, religious household. And I'm not going to get into details, because even though I don't really agree with what I was taught when I was younger, I don't want to disrespect anybody that does and who knows me. I don't want to cause any problems there, so I'm not going to get into details. But anyways, I come from a very strict religious background, and so did my mom. And she and my dad got divorced. They actually got divorced on my first birthday, which, I don't know, it sucks. It's kind of a shitty thing to do, right? Let's get divorced on your birthday. I mean, I was 1 year old. I didn't know what was going on, but thinking back, it's like, that's pretty shitty. Yeah, there I am. So I got this. My mom was kind of just like, about the religion, she was kind of just like, fuck this, and she was out. And my dad was, whoa, fuck, I just touched the tip of my foot on the pavement on that corner. So my dad stayed pretty staunch, and my mom was like on completely the opposite end of the spectrum, right? So I would live with my dad. I lived with my dad for most of the year, and during the summertime, I would live with my mom. So it was like I was going from one extreme to the other. My mom was wild and crazy, and my dad was really, he's a good guy, but he was really strict and really particular, right? So I kind of was having sort of this identity crisis when I was younger, you know, going back and forth, living with my mom and my dad. And in the end, my dad's side won out. I was like, you know, I gotta do the Lord's work. And I kind of settled into this kind of conservative way of life. But the older I got, the more I kind of saw that it wasn't really jiving with my true personality and the way that I believe. But you know, in any kind of organization, you gotta kind of, well, I don't know, you really gotta believe it, or you gotta play the game. And I really believed it. I really believed it. This is gonna sound stupid, but I really believed it up until I didn't. And then when I didn't, I just couldn't stomach the idea of continuing to do that anymore. And well, I don't know, it wasn't like it was an instant thing. It was like over the course of a couple of years, I kind of just lost my faith, but you know, I don't want to say that, even though that's what I mean. I stopped believing that way after a couple of years, getting older and wiser. So I feel like I went down from kind of being chained down to a certain extent to being free. And honestly, okay, so I don't want to get into details, but basically what I believed when I was younger was that I was going to live forever. Let's just say I believe that dying to me was not a concern. There was something after death, and for me, dying was no issue. I felt like, you know, I got all the time in the world. I'll sleep in every day of my fucking life. I got time, because when I die, I'm gonna come back and everything's gonna be good. So I went from believing that for like 20 years of my life, more than 20 years actually. And finally gradually over the course of a couple of years, I gotta watch that center line. I'm being kind of a dickhole. Even though my tire's not on the center line, my mirrors and my head are, and that's gonna kill me, so I gotta be careful about that. So I went from having to feel like I have all this time in the world to really just not believing that anymore, and realizing that I've only got 50 years of my life left, and maybe 30 of them, maybe 30 or 40 of them, 30 or 40 of them are going to be actually good ones. The rest are going to be just old fucking assile. Actually, that's a great word for some dickhole old man. He's an asshole and he's senile. He's an asshole. Oh, bikey, I thought we were going to be bike buddies. Yeah, so I went from feeling like I had all the time in the world to being so anxious, wow, it's beautiful, about not having enough time. So definitely my life now is just like, I'm seizing the day. Like if I do something, if I don't do something with my day, I get depressed. Because over here in Japan, every day at 5 o'clock, there's a chime that goes throughout the whole city. And if I haven't done anything by the time I've heard that chime, I feel like I've wasted a day of my life. Which is weird, because before I used to think there was, you know, a God. And by the way, I'm not trying to push anything on you, not trying to push any beliefs on you at all. But I used to believe that there was, you know, some higher power, and, you know, superficially I felt like it gave meaning to my life. But honestly, knowing that I don't have the time that I thought I once did, it feels like there's so much more meaning in my life. Every day has become so much more valuable to me. Where before everything was free, you know, like I feel like time was free, so I didn't feel like I had to spend any of it correctly. Wow. So it definitely seize the day. So if you were gonna ask me like what my philosophy is, I would say I'm an ethical, well, let me just say, I went from being really religious, really having like, you know, foundation of beliefs, to being pretty nihilistic. I was like, you know, fuck my life. Honestly, it's not a huge reason why I started writing, but oh, that was weird. Not a huge reason why I started writing, but you know, it's like I thought, you know, if you're gonna live, you live. So I bought a bike, started writing. I was obviously interested in motorsports and stuff before, but just the whole danger aspect of writing didn't really, like, I stopped caring about that. It's like, you know what? Honestly, live fast, die young. I don't necessarily agree with that philosophy, but I definitely feel like if you're gonna live, you better live. Being alive and living are completely different things, and I want to live. Wow. So I got the bike, and I mean, that was kind of like sort of like the beginning of my nihilism. It's like, if I ride, I'm gonna have fun. If I die, whatever. Obviously, I don't feel. Basically, I don't know if you know what existentialism is, but basically, existentialism is the belief that life inherently has no meaning. There is no innate meaning of life. But existentialism is saying that basically you assign your own meaning. So basically, you know what? In a billion years or wherever, the Earth is going to explode. Everything that you've known, anybody you've ever met, anything you've ever comprehended is going to be wiped out. It's going to be gone. So, you know, in the big picture, everyone's going to die. You are so insignificant in this world. But you know what? And that's kind of how I was thinking for a while. I was like, you know, I've got nothing. I'm worthless, you know. And then actually, after a while, that line of logic, it got me, it kind of like set me free almost. It's like, you know what? I'm insignificant. What I do doesn't matter. So why not do whatever the fuck I want to do? So some people, like, that line of thinking kind of chains them down and makes them feel like unable to move, or makes them stresses them out. But honestly, it really woke me up. So now I do what I want to do, and I'm gonna do that as long as I can. I don't know, it's like I live in a society, so I gotta follow the rules to an extent, right? Also, I don't want to spend my time in jail, so I'm not gonna. I don't want to mess around too much. But the thing is, I'm pretty empathetic towards other people, so that's why I say I'm an ethical existentialist. Because an ethical existentialist, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna make sure I have a good time. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna enjoy my life. But I'm not gonna do I'm not gonna do me at your expense. I don't wanna fuck your day up so I can have a better day. I'd feel guilty about that. So I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna keep doing me. Gonna do me all the time. And believe me, God, I do me so much. But I'm not gonna fuck you over to do me. Whew, I almost passed right there. That was dumb. So I feel like I went from being confined to being freer than I've ever been. And you know, I'm no sage. I'm no wise man. GTR. But I recommend you examine your life. Find out what's making you happy. Find out what's making you unhappy. And then change what you gotta, because things used to be so much worse. And I made some changes, some really big changes. If you can't tell where I am right now, made some really big changes, and I'm really happy right now. And everybody deserves to be happy. That's all, guys. It's nice talking to you.